looks like we are live on both channels right now, and that means we will be right on time. Fantastic. I'm glad we got that going today. We're getting better at this, Maria.
Smooth sailing today.
Yes, and you can see down below, we're going to be talking about InfoComm today. That's an exciting thing. We've got a great show prepping for InfoComm. We got one of our special guests on there, but I don't want to steal spoiler alerts. But you know what? By the end of the show, I do want to talk to everybody out in the audience about what we're doing at InfoComm, because we're going to be doing some crazy, fun, interesting things. So with that, I'm going to check my stream for Facebook now. It looks like Facebook just went live, and we're good to go. So with that, hey everybody, check in down below, say hi. Let us know where you're at and what you're doing. We want to hear from you. We're excited about the show today. So with this show, let me go ahead and get us started. All right, welcome to Converge PoE, the PoE Texas live stream. This week, we're going to give you a reason to buy another iPad or Samsung Tab or Surface Go, just like you need it, right? Because everybody needs another reason to buy another tablet. Whatever gets you excited, we've got a whole new reason, and a really good one, for why you should go buy more, just like you need, right? Because I need a reason, you need a reason, we all need reasons to buy more techie devices, right? We've been big proponents here at PoE Texas of getting the most out of your assets. There is nothing worse for me than seeing owners invest huge amounts of money in a single-use, purpose-built component, because that's all it is, and that's all it'll ever be good for. And displays, kiosks, point-of-sale stations, signage is one of the worst pitfalls for owners and installers. You can find really nice and pricey purpose-built products for any application. Of course, next year, when tech changes and new features come out, all you could do is throw out the single-purpose device you have or put it on a shelf and watch your expense or your asset just gather dust and become a pile of spare parts. There is a better way. And best of all, this is what I love, it's PoE powered. We're going to be talking with our guest host today, and I'm not going to reveal who it is because I'll let Maria introduce him, but he is an expert in these tablet mount products and tablet mount device that make the best sense for businesses. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, I'm Tyler Andrews, head Shifu here at PoE Texas. Most of you know me, I'm the nerd, and by the way, I've nerded out so far. I'm actually wearing some of the stuff I'm going to be wearing to InfoComm next week, and it includes a Firefly belt buckle. And nobody here got it. No, I'm frankly a little disappointed.
I had no reaction. I'm so sorry.
Joss, if you're watching today, I'm really sorry about this. I'm a little embarrassed by that, but as always, I have my lovely co-host, Miss Maria Medell.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you all for watching. So joining us today, I get to announce that we have Dean Heckler, who's the CEO of Heckler Design. He's an entrepreneur who is constantly involved in innovative technology-related products. And back in 2007, Dean was inspired by the classic tanker desks and decided to draw up an idea of his own for a modern, minimalist computer desk. So right in his hometown of Phoenix, Arizona, the very first One Less Desk was created. So it's now 2019, and Dean and his team support hundreds of jobs in the Phoenix area. Their values are make it simple, make it impressive, make it here. Dean's specialties include product design, U.S. manufacturing, marketing, and business product and development, and technology evangelism. So we're really excited to talk with Dean today. Join us in welcoming him to Converge PoE.
Hey, Dean, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much. Thanks, Maria. Good to see you, Tyler. And I got the Firefly reference.
Yes,
You're not alone.
Well, great, Dean. Welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you here. And for our audience out there, we're getting some chats coming in here. Peter says good morning. Hey, Peter, how you doing, buddy? Dean, I have been so excited to have you on the show. I've been trying a very long time. When we first started conceiving of the show, you were one of the first guests that I wanted to bring on the show because I find this to be such an interesting topic. So, but maybe this might be a little bit new to our audience out there. So, Dean, can we get a little history of how AV, the AV world and signage and all this technology got started using iPads and tablets?
Yeah, we first learned of it. We were building tablet mounts for the point of sale industry, and that industry was Square and PayPal and ShopKeep and a few others. That industry was really innovated, especially for small businesses, with the power of good apps, good software, just combined with iPad. And we started noticing that a number of our resellers, our dealers, were AV guys, and we started asking them, "What are you doing with these things? These products were made for point of sale." And what we learned was, first and foremost, was conferencing control, video conference control. So they had a number of apps to control the lighting in the room, the shades, the turning on the display, and also controlling each video conference. And so that was the first use case where we saw that innovation. And then when you put all this technology into meeting rooms, the meeting rooms become fought over in the office. So room scheduling became more and more important. So we saw a number of companies do innovative software for room scheduling. And with that kind of choice in software, it just naturally pulled iPad into those use cases.
Very cool. So it was more of an organic thing, right? I mean, it was one of those things that generated because the technology was good. It wasn't something that some industry standard guy came out and said, "You know what? Today we're going to make tablets the new tool for AV and point of sale." It sounds like it just kind of organically generated. People were using it. It was a handy tool, and they could build off. So I'm interested to find out that it came from the point of sale industry. That's an interesting. I didn't realize that it came from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as the iPad was announced, it was advertised as more of a consumer device, as sit on your couch and browse the web. But I think as soon as the App Store became available, developers just instantly said, "Wait, this could be used in a business scenario. I'm going to write a business app for it." And so some of the earliest business-oriented apps for the iPad were point-of-sale apps, and that was a game changer for a small business person dreaming of opening a retail store, because the one thing they might know how to make the products and set up the store, but how to set up the point of sale was really a mystery. And several innovative companies came along and demystified it, and that because people could make that last mental leap on how they're going to set that up, start taking credit cards and run a point of sale, a lot of small businesses that wouldn't have come to fruition did. And I think some of those early companies, those software companies, Square's the prime example. They saw a lot of success in that, so it just invited app developers who also had other business uses, to give it a try. And because of their innovation, that's where we are today. We're just keeping up with the innovation of the app developers, making something very useful, friendly applications for all number of business scenarios.
That's very cool. And then, Crestron, I know Crestron is a big company. They've been doing this for some time. And then you could see that shift as owners were drawn to this new technology. So maybe a question for you then, Dean, that I could ask is, what can tablets offer users that the purpose-built technology can't? Like, what's a differentiator?
Biggest differentiator is freedom, the ability to switch, the ability to evaluate competitors, forgive the pun, apple to apples.
I like the pun, man. Yes,
yeah, I didn't think about that
Yeah,
before.
you got a dad joke. Woo!
the barriers to entry are so much lower. You probably have an iPad or a tablet within reach, and you have a problem to solve in your business, and a few Google searches, a couple searches of your favorite app store, and you're experimenting with a solution right then and there. You could probably implement a pilot of your solution in your business same day, and before the reseller for the Crestron systems would even have an opportunity to call you back. So I think it's a lot more about self-reliance, especially a small and medium-sized business. Just being able to go from recognizing a problem to implementing a solution without having to ask permission of anyone or sign contracts or do those things. So I think that's the thing that for the small business, that's the advantage for the small business. For the app developer, it's going straight from an idea to market with the app and not having to concern themselves with the hardware ecosystem. They know the hardware is already out there. And there's just a few missing elements between the iPad and the software to complete the story, namely the mount and the power and networking solution. So it's a much more innovative recipe. Is the way I see it.
Yeah, it's powerful because when you think about it, and that's a great point. You can be at the cutting edge of technology. You could stay ahead of technical innovation because you've got a platform that many people can come to, and this is a model that we at PoE Texas really espouse. I've talked about it a lot on our shows, where you want technology that's converging, and that's where things can happen. And in this case, the tablets are great converging technology because, to your point, the device is existing. The software platform or the method for getting software onto the devices is existing with the Google Play Store, the App Store. You don't have to go through a big distribution model, and that is really revolutionary. So I really like that, and it makes the technology more powerful, so users can stay up to date. And I think that's one of the cool features, as you pointed out to me before and a little earlier. The device can be updated, right? You can take your tablet and update it to a new software, update it to a new application quickly. Whereas if you bought a single-use purpose-built device, you really can't. It's kind of stuck with what it was and what it was built for.
And in purpose-built devices, they can get their firmware updates. They can get updates after the fact. But I think what you're going to see in a tablet environment is the product's only going to get better after you buy it. There's going to be big upgrades for the operating system along the way. There's going to be a lot new app choices just during the duration of owning that one tablet. You're going to see a lot of choice and a lot of upgrades and profound upgrades along the way. The other thing is the investment in an iPad is a pretty safe investment. If implementing a solution is short-lived with an iPad or 20 iPads or 30 iPads, you have a downstream use case for those iPads. In worst case scenario, you have a decent resale value on the iPads. I think reselling proprietary equipment online, it's something that's typically sold brand new through the channel, is something that's going to be difficult to offload if you switch solutions down the way. So the dollars you put in to these general use tablets are well spent dollars, and what you deployed in your lobby as a guest check-in system with a tablet 1 year becomes the tablet that same tablet might get upgraded to the latest and greatest, while you take the old tablet out and you put it to use in your warehouse. It just changes its identity and its use case on the fly. So go ahead and buy the $300 tablet. You won't get blamed as things progress, as technology progresses. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Maria, we got people commenting here. Peter's joining us. Hey, Peter, thanks for coming on the show. Let me turn off this title here.
So Peter asks, how do you deal with hardware support when certain products, due to due to OS size creep, can force hardware upgrade across the board?
Um, this is something I've seen Apple improve over the years. Is that it used to be a generation or two of support for iOS updates, and the OS just got bigger and bigger along the way. I think Apple and I've seen also very good improvement with Microsoft on the same time, that they know they're trying to keep their operating systems more and more efficient. We're seeing, I mean, just as recently as yesterday, they announced that app updates will be 60% smaller. On average, coming from the App Store, and that original app installs will be 50% smaller. So they're addressing that. It was certainly a trend that operating system sizes were just getting bigger and bigger, and it was getting out of control. But I see the companies that develop these operating systems recognizing it's a big issue, and these questions come up, and it's a barrier to entry or acceptance of tablets in these scenarios. So they're actually addressing it better and better. I think the latest OS can go back to 4 or 5 generations of iPad and still fit. iOS 12 has auto updates on the operating system if you choose to turn it on, so you don't have to, babysit those tablets to deploy your operating system updates. And the last time I watched that happen, the tablet came back exactly to where it was before the OS update. It was pretty impressive. So Apple deploys iPads in these use cases. They mount them on walls. They use them as point of sale systems in their around their campus. So they're acutely aware of the issues of deploying a lot of them, and they are baking in solutions into the operating system moving forward.
When I think that's an interesting topic, Dean, because you point out that Apple is starting to become aware of the fact that their devices are used in this application. I know I've had some conversations with some other tablet designers. What's your experience? Are you seeing a similar trend with Microsoft and with Android devices to be able to support these more fixed applications?
Yes. I mean, a good example is battery management, iOS battery management. That in iOS 11.3, they quietly introduced a feature to monitor so that the operating system itself monitors if the tablet is under constant charging power, and if so, allows the battery to drain to a certain level, 50%, let's say. So that you don't tire out the battery prematurely. In these mounting solutions, the battery essentially goes unused unless the power goes out. So it's a good thing to just utilize the battery less. And so, and in iOS 12, they've actually added that functionality to iPhone, and then Microsoft has a similar battery management system built into Windows now. So I think they're all the major manufacturers. I have to check on Samsung, but all the major manufacturers, they want the tablets deployed like this. They like the idea of them being used as point of sale and wall mounts and controllers and fixed computers in forklifts in your warehouse. And so they are baking in features. It's not all about the mobile workforce and the charge and then go, cycle and drain the battery use cases. They know that they're selling hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of tablets being deployed for this use case, and so they are spending considerable resources to make sure software and hardware are working hard together to make sure your investment is amortized over many, many years.
That's great. So, hey, Peter, while you're out there, you're going to come up with another comment. And for Peter and everybody out there, I'm curious if what you guys are using your iPads for. For those of you in the audience who are watching, tell Dean and I what you're either using your tablets for or what you're thinking about using your tablets for, because I think those are interesting questions, and that tells us more what is really happening out there. So, Peter, you were saying that you would love it if the Apple had two separate SSDs, including one for the operating system and one for other user data programs. Wow, that I think that's a very interesting application. So, Peter, I'm really curious what you're using it for. Where you think that you would need so much dedicated support. So let us know. Shoot us a comment.
Plex, Rune, and Cassetta control.
Plex, Rune, and Cassetta control. You know, I haven't heard those terms before. Are you familiar with them, Dean?
Well, Cassetta, sure. Lutron Cassetta system. So it's a wireless home control system. Switches, fan control. I'm familiar with those. Apple did announce iOS 13 will have support for plugging in external flash drives, and more of a file system. And I should say it's not iOS anymore. On the iPad, it'll be called iPad OS, and I believe this is a feature exclusive to iPad OS, that it will have more of a file system architecture, and you will be able to plug in external drives. Of course, the example they showed was a USB-C drive. I don't know if there, if a Lightning. Actually, I did see an example online yesterday of no, it was USB-C. So hopefully, Lightning style flash drives will become a thing. Adapters that are multifunctional, so that they will ultimately provide power and access to an external storage. That would be a great thing. We don't see a lot of issues with storage capacity when you're talking about mounted iPads, because it usually bakes down to one or two apps that are being used on that iPad. So it's a fresh operating system and a couple apps. And I would say in a majority of cases, it's one app and the iPad is locked down to that app. So there's usually a lot of headroom on the storage side in those cases. In a more residential case where the homeowner is loading up a lot of use cases. In the office, we have we use it as a time clock, a Sonos control, a HomeKit controller. So those things will add up. There's a new feature coming in iOS 13, which will actually allow you to locally process video cameras footage. So there will be, when you use HomeKit compatible security cameras around your home, and you want more privacy, you don't want to send that video up to Google for processing. Apple has introduced their solution, which will actually process the video and look for the mailman showing up actually on a local iPad or your Apple TV, use its processing power and storage capability to do that, and then encrypt it and then upload it to iCloud storage. So no one has any kind of access to the video feed data once it's uploaded to the cloud. So that one may certainly use a bit more horsepower storage.
Yeah.
But generally
powerful.
They're pretty, yeah, that's a neat one. That's a lot of work, a lot of development work just to make sure that all of our homes and cameras in our homes aren't just a live feed to who knows where. So I think that is a really, that's a big step, and I think they've been working on that one for quite some time.
Very cool. So, Peter, I'm guessing you're using iPads for home automation, if I'm reading the tea leaves right, and Plex interfaces with Apple TV. That is very cool. You know, Peter, I'd love keep us in the loop what you're using there, Peter, because I'm getting this sounds like a very interesting application for Dean and I. So Plex interfaces with Apple TV, which is a very exciting feature.
And it looks like Rune with Raspberry Pi.
Oh, Rune with Raspberry Pi, and I'm a big Pi fan.
He
So
is.
Peter, watch our show on June 18th when we bring in Robert Tate from the Hookup. He does home automation all the time, open source stuff, and I'm very excited about that. So Rune will run on the iPad, and it will talk to a Raspberry Pi and ELAC. I'm not familiar with that term, so I'm learning. This
Yeah,
is
that's
great.
an interesting application.
I'm having so much fun because I always learn when I'm talking to everybody out there about what they're doing. So it's fantastic. Well, go ahead, Maria.
Oh, I'm curious. I know that we're talking about the upgrades in the software, the iOS, and how that's constantly evolving. But I know that they often, as a consumer, they also upgrade the physical device itself, whether they want to make it thinner or have the screen larger. So how do your mounts and your team, how do you stay ahead of the different sizing options?
That's just a lot of work for us.
I bet.
There's no getting around that.
There isn't if you want a tailored solution. What we try to do is make sure our mounts look good and are nicely tailored to the tablet. So we are constantly chasing the new sizes of tablets. Now, mercifully, especially with Apple, the iPad, the base iPad shape and size has not changed in 5 or 6 generations. So, yeah, back to iPad Air, iPad Air 2, iPad Pro 9.7. You know, for about 5 years now, 6 years now, we've enjoyed the same form factor there, and Apple's being very intentional with that, making sure that there's a great accessory ecosystem out there. That yes, they do surprise us with new shapes and sizes on the especially on the iPad Pro size. They've jumped around sizes quite a bit. What we do is our manufacturing is almost all laser cut steel. So yes, we have to come out with new products, but we don't have to go to tooling for them. We're not spending $300,000 on some injection plastic tooling to keep up with Apple. Our recipe is very tailored laser cut steel, and so if one of our mounts sees end of life, it's 100% recyclable. You know, I make sure they're not. It's a big metal thing, so it's not likely to be thrown in the trash. It is something that will be melted and come back to life as another steel product somewhere. But we do have to chase all form factors. On Surface Pro, Surface Pro's been very consistent in its form factor for the past 4 or 5 generations. So one product there has lasted a long time. Samsung is a different story. They change the case on us about every 3 months. So it's a lot of work keeping up on the Android side of things.
Yeah. What do you have for us, Maria?
We have Jay Powell, new watcher today. He wants to know, where are we on data and power through the one Lightning port on an Apple iPad mini?
Oh, well, I'll take that one, Jay. Thank you. I love when Jay tees it up for me. Jay, how's it going, buddy? So Jay's with ASI Signage up in Dallas. Great guy. I love working with him, and he's had some very exciting projects that we've been able to collaborate on. So Jay, thanks for joining us today on the show. So where we are, Jay, is we have got it. This is I happen to bring Dean's AV mount here, and right now I've got it plugged into our GAF Lightning PD. And if it's all right, everybody, I'll just go ahead and reach over here and plug it in. And let's see if I can get it to wake up. There we go. It just woke up, started charging. So I'm not going to show you my passcode. Sorry, guys. But we got it charging. Let me see if I've got wire. Let me see. Do I have Wi-Fi? Do I have network into this guy here? Make sure I plugged it into a connected port. There we are. So if you're looking at the screen here, and I think it's hard to see, but you can see we've got. Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna Jay. Sorry, I'm not gonna be able to see it. But right now, it's brought up the Ethernet screen, and I'll be able to do a short tutorial on it. And an interesting thing, Jay, that we just discovered. I didn't know this. We were working with somebody. We are there are a couple guys out there who do these devices. I know Red Park is one of them, and Belkin also came out with them. With their own, which is MFI certified. And it's a fantastic product. We got it here. We love to get those kinds of things and test it out. Some things that I would point out that of course, I'm going to be a little bit biased about our GAF Lightning PD. We did two things that I feel are really powerful for our product intentionally. And then there's a third thing that we did unintentionally that I think that it's going to be a very powerful product for you, Jay. Number one, we integrated the cable into the device. And frankly, that made our lives a lot harder because it's a lot harder to get MFI certification for a device with a lightning adapter on it. But we made that choice because we knew as installers and integrators, the last thing you need is more cables and more devices running around. We also put our right angle head on it, which is important to be able to fit into tight spaces. Like you can see in here, this is where Dean's is. The connector fits right in that tight space. So this is a Heckler AV mount. And the third thing that I was a little surprised by, we were troubleshooting a location on Friday, and I just happened to bring my Belkin sample with me. And the customer, and Dean, you may know more about this than I do, the customer had installed a remote management software system. What was it called, a QDM? Or?
An MDM.
MDM. That's a new term for me. An MDM platform onto the iPad that allowed the central office to remotely restart the device. The interesting thing we discovered is that the Belkin device filters those commands and doesn't let them pass through. So the MDM wasn't operating properly when we had it on their system. We swapped it over to ours, and sure enough, it did a reboot just the way the customer wanted. So it was an interesting little lesson to learn there. So yes, Jay, it's there for the Apple Mini. It works all the way up to the iPad Pro Gen 2, but a note with the iPad Pro Gen 2, you got to turn down the brightness. If you're going to go full brightness with the iPad Pro, the 12.9 inch, you really need to go USB-C to Lightning. And there you can get an MFI certified cable, Lightning, or USB-C to Lightning. So that's great, Jay. What and I'm curious, Jay. You do digital signage. Are you finding any other applications that are coming through your type of industry calling for iPads, like you're asking about? And then I think Peter came back with a comment about the ELAC.
ELAC. Yeah, he said it's a music server that can store music locally or on an NAS. Plus, Plex also works with NAS or cloud storage.
Thank you, Peter. That education, man. And I think what's powerful, and I'm very excited to see what you're doing, Peter, because I do believe that home automation and doing technology at home is going to be a very big and powerful market going forward. I think you're in a great position. What is interesting is how all that's going to tie together, like what people really want. And so I'm excited to see what you're saying is, people want to be able to manage their music. They want to be able to manage their video. They want to be able to manage their home automation systems, like Dean was talking about, being able to take your cameras and process them locally and then encrypt them going up onto the cloud. Very exciting things, and seeing the tablet become a more powerful element of that, I think, is really important. Dean, let me ask you this. Are you seeing better development and better products in those lines on the Apple or Android? Because I know Android is an open platform.
Yeah, I mean, Apple has the advantage on a great playback experience. The TV OS, Apple TV boxes, it's hard to beat just sitting back and watching content you want to watch on those boxes. The challenge is that Apple and Google, they would like you to just subscribe to a system that gives you access to all the movies they want to give you access to and have you pay for them the way that they want you to pay for them. versus being able to put your own collections, on your own storage in your own home and access it on Apple TV, for instance. So I think what we saw yesterday with iOS 13 is that, okay, Apple wants to be able to connect more storage devices to an iPad. And I'm curious to see if they'll open that up at all to, and also doing more things on routers. They announced that HomeKit is going to be coming. HomeKit compatibility is a feature coming to certain routers. And what I hope they do there is allow people to put network attached storage in their homes and access it more readily on their favorite playback devices. So maybe that'll open up so that it's OS agnostic as far as where you're hosting that media. But yeah, in my opinion, the playback experience and just relaxing and enjoying your media, it's hard to beat Apple relative to solutions on Android and Windows. So yeah, I do see them. I do see Apple becoming very aware of what people want to do with these systems and finding ways to open those solutions up to people, and still enjoy the tight integration between software and hardware and the reliability that Apple has built up. But hey, people want to rip their movies and have them on their network and play them back on their TVs. So don't fight us on it.
Well, actually, I've got a question for you, Peter, then. And then we'll go to Jay's comment, because Jay came back with another great comment. Peter, I'm curious, do your customers, do they feel like when you're marketing and you're bringing that to them, does having an Apple device or an Android device, or either or, is that like a value proposition? Do your customers in the home space find it, as a feature where they're excited? You say, coming in, I can set this up, I can run it off of this tablet that do they find that more exciting over the purpose-built, because I've seen a lot of them, Android-based wall-mounted kiosks. So I'm curious whether your customers are seeing the value of the tablet, or whether they feel, whether it's more of a benefit for you for setup. So let us know, Peter.
He did give us a little bit more elaboration on the different programs he was mentioning earlier. So NAS, he mentioned, is Network Addressable Storage, and then Synology and QNAP are some of the big players.
Very cool.
And then a little extra on Synology, they have an app for connectivity to Apple. So both have iTunes and music server capabilities.
Very exciting stuff. So for those of you out there who are watching, Peter is giving a chatted master class in setting up some of these systems. Peter, this is great. You're being very generous with your knowledge, and we really appreciate that. That is a fantastic share to learn that.
And then I think in reference to your question for which kind of tablet they would want, he said you would want both to some extent.
Okay, both fixed and the Apple, the iPad tablet. An interesting thing for you, Dean, you could point out, I don't think Apple is making a permanent purpose-built wall mount device. You really do have to get the tablet to be able to accomplish that.
Yeah,
And then
and strategy seems to focus on that. If you implement HomeKit automations, you need to either have an Apple TV on your network or an iPad. Either one of those devices could be set up as kind of the automation manager within your network. And if you're going to choose iPad for that, you better have that iPad under constant power. Yeah. So they haven't. HomePod is their play for a fixed device in the home, but right now they're marketing that very much towards this music playback and interacting with Siri, and a way to talk to your HomeKit automations. So asking Siri to turn the temperature down will go from HomePod to your Apple TV or your iPad. Yeah, time will tell if they introduce more purpose-built home automation things like Google has done. They have a slew of purpose-built assistants and screen assistants, focused mainly on residential. But right now, I think HomePod represents Apple's intent in that space.
Interesting. Interesting.
And it looks
Very
like
cool.
Jay let us know some of the use cases that he's seeing. So mostly for conference room scheduler applications. The other ability we need is to add a card reader, which now add in by USB-A connection.
And that brings up that point that you were saying, Dean. Now, can we get a Lightning enabled hub? Could you have a device that plugs Lightning into the iPad, has a USB-A port on it, potentially, to what Peter's asking, a micro SD card for storage, and still take power in and do all of that on the same platform? That is an interesting challenge, guys. Challenge accepted. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go out and see if I can research the heck out of that.
Yeah, we'll have to see with the developer conference going on right now. They should be talking about what capabilities and categories they're opening up. That would be the hope on the iPad Pro side with USB-C. It's a more open architecture for plugging those things through adapters and getting all those devices connected through the single port that Apple provides us on the iPad. Yeah, card readers. We have a ton of experience with credit card readers and iPads, from 30-pin to Lightning to now USB-C, connecting. What's nice now with the iPad Pro and USB-C is ultimately now it's opened up a whole world of USB-A card readers, which goes back, to the mid 90s. So a lot of enterprise class credit card readers are now technically compatible with iPad. You have to write the software to get it to talk, but now the connection story is less proprietary for sure.
And Jay, I can tell you, we have already developed to Dean's point, for the USB-C and the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. And I believe, Dean, the iPad Pro 10.5 inch is also USB-C, right?
Correct.
So we have already developed a USB-C hub specifically for that application. It allows you to use, what's cool about it is the hub, I'm getting the first production sample here to test. It should be here Thursday. So if you're interested, leave a comment. Let me know. I'll post some videos. I'll post some pictures so you guys can see it. I'll put it on the new Facebook and LinkedIn users groups. Maria's gonna slap me here for those are coming out in 2 weeks, but they're there. But I'll start posting some stuff. But what's really cool about it is it has a network port, so it could be a device that you could mount into your mount. And it has a network port, a USB-C port, and a USB-A port. And the cool thing about it is you could integrate that into your enclosure or device. And then we are also developing, and this was, I give Dean full credit for this, we're developing a wall mount for a USB-C, PoE to USB-C line that will fit basically in a single gang box, so that you could put the PoE in the wall, and then you could have power data out into your mount. And it's a nice little thin, super small form factor. We'll do it with a cable that you could swap around, so you could do, it comes with a separate cable. I'll launch some information about that soon, but we developed that and I'm very excited about that product. So yeah, Jay, if you need USB-A, you can get it with the USB-C models, but I'm taking the challenge. I'm interested. Can we pull that off for Lightning? And we'll have to see on that one. All right, what do we got?
Let's see. So Peter said the iPads or tablets are alternates to the physical controllers.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's see what he said about 4K. So most of the folks he's dealing with or work with are not Spotify or Pandora users. So they want Tidal and Quobuzz. I've not heard of that one. Sorry. For music and for the 4K video.
Really? That makes a lot of sense, and that would explain the local storage. I'm curious, Peter, and you can say, "Look, I can't tell you who my customers are," but I'm curious, Peter, who those customers are. Like, what differentiates that user or that use case to separate it from the guys like in my house? Yeah, we use Pandora, but I'm not a big music fan. Well, I love music, but I'm not like my wife is really the one. She's the one who goes out and buys the surround sounds and the big high dollar system. So I'm curious about Peter, who those customers are and why they're differentiated.
And he said on those specific customers, they also do not want to require internet access. So intranet should be able to suffice for those.
That is a very important feature. And we were talking about it earlier, Peter, that Apple is now grandfathering iTunes, right, Dean? And so you are going to have to rely on more of these systems now to store your information locally because you won't have iTunes going forward.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where the music app. The music app does allow you to have your offline stored um, songs, but you definitely see the trend towards app. The big companies always assuming you have an internet access. You have internet access. Why wouldn't you want to use it? All the music, let us store it all. Don't worry about it. But in some of the use cases like this, it's business settings where they want to make sure the music is playing constantly. They don't, a blip in the internet access takes down the vibe of the whole restaurant. So we've seen people implement solutions where it is stored music, maybe just on an iPod Touch, which last week got an update to a new generation. Looks the same as the old generation, more storage. But they're just wall mounting an iPod Touch because the single use case for that is just to play the music on the Sonos system with local files. So yeah, we do see a lot of businesses saying, we're not. We consider music playback to actually be almost business critical. So no, thank you to cloud-based video streaming for our music playback. I think offline storage of music files and on devices in homes and businesses will continue to be a popular thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, if it's all right, guys, I want to take a minute, though. We were talking about the application. We're well into the show, and I wanted to make sure we took a second. Is there a real quick one, or should we start talking about this is the special announcement Dean is making on our show? We are so honored by the fact that Dean is going to publicly announce a product on our show before it goes anywhere else, even before he takes it to Infocom next week. And we'll talk about Infocom a little bit toward the end of the show. Is there a quick comment here that we could address, and then we'll go to that one?
Yeah, let's leave it off with Tom Willis saying Stevie Ray Vaughan all the way.
Hey, Tom. Tom is one of our great regulars. We love you, Tom. Thanks for coming to the show.
Good music choice.
Always a pleasure to have you. And Stevie Ray Vaughan is Austin-based, right? So what a guy. We love that. So, guys, well, I won't even try and tee this up better than to let Dean introduce this to you. It is a new product that I think really works well in the residential and commercial space. And we'll talk about some of the implications here in a second. So, Dean, let me flip you over and you could talk about what's coming down the pipeline for Heckler Design.
Sure. This is new for us. This is our next generation of wall mount. iPad wall mount. I believe we'll be calling it the iPad wall mount plus PoE power. So this represents a collaboration between us and PoE Texas, where if you're familiar with our current wall mount line, it has a PoE Texas circuit board in it and PoE splitter. But that circuit board was about 1 inch tall. So that determined the thickness of the wall mount. So about a year ago, we started working with Tyler to challenge his team to create a splitter circuit board that is about as thick as the iPad itself, so that we could put that inside the enclosure and build a product that is it's power only. It's not power and data, but it's a secure wall mount for iPad, and we're also doing an iPad mini version that allows you to quickly deploy these mounts. And we did design these with mass deployments in mind, that they mount to the surface of the wall. You don't have to cut any big chunks out of the wall to flush mount these products. They mount to the wall with simple drywall anchors, and then you just pass through the cat cable. And because the mount itself is just over a 1/2 inch thick, which is less than half the thickness of our current generation of wall mount, what you do is you actually wire the 4 wires directly into the PCB. It's a very quick process. It takes about as long to do that as it would to crimp on an RJ45 jack on the end of the line. And then you power it with passive 24-volt injectors, available at poetexas.com. So it's a very simple system. It's for fast deployment of a lot of tablets, and ultimately what you get is a very sleek look that you would normally have to pay, $500-$600 for a milled aluminum surface mounted or flush mounted system that you would have to cut a big chunk out of the wall. These are $199 list for either the Air or Mini version, and they'll be available in 2 colors, and they'll begin shipping late next week. So our wall mount products for iPad have been super popular over the past 3 years, and we've just taken feedback from folks. What would they like to see? They'd like to see them be thinner and sexier, and so that's what we've been working on.
That's great, Dean. Thank you very much for talking to us about that. So
It looks great.
yeah, I'm very excited, guys. I have been working with Dean on this. Let me switch over. We have been working with Dean on this for, like Dean has said, the last year, trying to really slim it down. So I'm very excited about it, and because of that, with the launch of this product, PoE Texas will be retailing this product on our own website. So you can find this product as well as a selection of PoE-enabled Heckler devices on our website, and we just made it live today.
I linked it down below for all of you to go check it out.
Oops, sorry, wrong one here. Go back here. We're gonna. There we go. We just made it all the listings live today. You can find Heckler Design products with our products already integrated in there, with both the PoE Texas and the Heckler warranties in there. So you'll find it on our website. You'll find it on Amazon. It's a very cool line. I think you guys will be super excited to, especially with a super thin. And the key here, the good news is that we can definitely support all of those products with the 24-volt passive PoE. And like Dean said, it's a really easy installation. You just stick a wire in, you clamp it in, and it's done. So Peter, I think for a home application, I think you'll be excited to see that happen. I think it's a fairly unique opportunity to take advantage of it in homes, businesses, rapid multi-deployments like Dean is talking about.
Yeah, Peter actually had a question about it. So he wants to know, do they have tamper-resistant features? Because if it does, it would be great for alarm control apps.
Yeah, the assembly of it uses 4 hidden Torx screws. So they're hidden behind the grill on the top and bottom. So it is not something that you would walk up to, know how to take apart and grab that iPad. So it is meant to be a tamper-resistant assembly. Our audience is mainly commercial implementation, so we want to make sure that the level of security people want for that iPad is what we're delivering. Now, we've taken a lot of feedback from the field about just how much security is the right amount security, and how much security becomes a hassle for the admin, as much as it is the would-be thief. We think we've got it dialed in nice. It is easy to assemble, easy to deploy, but if you don't have the right tools and you don't know what you're looking for, it will frustrate you. So certainly in the time to trigger an alarm when somebody enters the home, to go up to that interface and try to figure out how to tamper with the thing. I do think this new product line is well suited for the task. We use it in the office for timekeeping, for Sonos control, for room scheduling. It's fun to see what we come up with for it. It is compatible to be mounted over gang boxes, even though it's not required. Really, the primary use case is to just to anchor the product to the drywall, and then a very small hole just big enough to get your Cat 6 cable through the wall. You can, if you want, mount this over a single or double gang box to put whatever kind of adapter you want behind there, including the product that Tyler mentioned earlier, the in-wall product that they're coming out with. So it should be a nice platform for a lot of your ideas. We want to see what people. We're always surprised how people use the products and use cases that we never dreamt up coming to reality.
Well, and I have a question for our audience out there, guys. So, Peter and Jay, this particular device is wireless. A lot of people are interested in wired data. I can see Dean's point on the security with wireless. I mean, even if you ran up with a crowbar, yanked this guy right off the wall, and it disconnected the power, it's still running on battery, it's still communicating wirelessly. What's the trade-offs? And maybe Dean, you could answer the question. What are the trade-offs between wired data to your device and wireless data, and what might drive the choice between the two?
Yeah, the amount of devices on the network is one that we hear about. It's usually in a commercial setting where the admin is responsible for hundreds and hundreds of devices, that they begin to concern themselves: which devices can I access wirelessly and which one can I access wired? Beyond that, what we're seeing that especially residential control, it doesn't come up very often. Usually the Wi-Fi is very nearby. The access points are nearby. The Wi-Fi is strong, and they don't give a second thought to the need for Ethernet. But it's really as the deployments get bigger and bigger that they just don't want Wi-Fi to be a factor. So that seems to be the tipping point where they start talking about mounting a larger adapter someplace else and then reaching the iPad through the wall. But what we're seeing is a lot of deployments where the Wi-Fi is strong, and it's really about the consultant in a lot of cases, or a business that's leasing their office space. They want to deploy iPads. They intend to take these iPads with them when they leave this office space, and they don't want to have to hire a contractor to come plug in, square foot holes in the drywall when they leave. So, they want to deploy quickly. They want the style of it, so they don't want it to stick off the wall 3 inches. And so that's what we're delivering with the new iPad wall mount plus PoE power.
Very cool, very cool. So what does Peter and Jay, did they come back and check in with us?
Yes. So Jay, before we got into the introduction of the new mount, he just said, unfortunately for iPad minis, USB-C is not integrated yet.
That is unfortunate, Jay. You're
So for any of the
absolutely right.
hubs or
Yeah.
add-ons.
We're going to have to work on that.
And then Peter is talking about the wireless versus Wi-Fi, and he just said, let me add it to the screen here. So they do wired, but have wireless for backup, and then the wired is for data, whereas Wi-Fi would be for IoT.
That's a very good point. Yeah. And I think that makes a difference. I think, Dean, too, if you're out there and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I'd love this thin mount, but it doesn't have the wired data, with a slightly larger hole, and with our GAF Lightning PD, you could slide that into the same mount. It would fit the same way. You would just have to put our device inside the wall. So you'd need more of the 1-inch diameter hole drilled in to connect the device, slide it back in the wall, connect it to the iPad, and attach it. So I think that is very interesting stuff, guys. So this is really, these are the details that make the difference on a product. So Peter and Jay, thank you for weighing in and giving us your feedback. I'm going to change topics a little bit because, one of the reasons I was so excited to have Dean on the show today, and Dean has not been talking about some of the other products he's going to be doing at Infocom that I'm personally interested in. I'm very excited. I will be at Dean's booth next week, but I do want to bring up the fact that we're all going to Infocom next week. So shout out there, Jay, Peter, Tom. Are you guys going to Infocom in Orlando next week? I'd love to catch up with anybody in our audience who's out there, because I'm going to be running around doing YouTube challenges at Infocom. And if you would like to get in on the action, we are going to do a competition for the best YouTube challenge. So I'm going to go by Dean's booth. I'm going to visit the guys at PTZ Optics. I'm asking a few other guys that I haven't got them all signed on yet, but we're going to be doing challenges, whether they're the whisper challenge, where you put your headphones on and try and lip read somebody else. We're going to do the accent challenge, where you can try and we'll read from product manuals to see if we can do the accent. And if you really are brave, I'm even bringing the Being Boozled challenge. And I will do all these challenges with you. We'll post them on YouTube. We'll post them on Facebook and see who gets the most views. If you get the most views, then we will be giving you a limited edition custom PoE Texas. I have the PoE t-shirt. They're being produced right now. Otherwise, I'd be showing them today. But if you're interested, shoot me an email. You can email us at service@poetexas.com. You can put it in the comments below. We'll keep an eye out for it. But if you want to get in on it, let me know. So, Dean, you are going to Infocom next week. We'll throw your
Already added it.
You already added Dean's booth number out there.
3889.
3889. So swing by and see Dean's stuff. The one that I'm so interested in is the Heckler Credenza. Are we finally going to be able to see your Heckler Credenza at Infocom this year?
Yeah, freight shipping willing, you will be able to see multiple Heckler Credenzas at Infocom. Yeah, the AV Credenza has been a long time in coming. We showed concepts of it at last year's Infocom. They are very nice. They are furniture for AV integrators to do mass deployments of video conferencing systems, equipment heavy video conferencing systems. This has been a problem in the industry, that if you want to outfit a conference room or a meeting room with, let's say, a Zoom room, but you want to do it in more of a campus environment where you have HDMI switching and microphones in the ceilings, you have some rack mounted gear, and where are you going to put that? And it's been the kind of the private hell of AV integrators, that they have to put this down a hallway. In the nicest offices and the most innovative companies out there, they're not going to have a server rack, an AV rack in the corner of the room. They're just not going to allow it. So you have to put it in a closet down the hallway and wire everything over to every room, which means days and days, if not weeks, on site doing an implementation for your customers. What Credenza is about is essentially it's a wall-mounted AV rack. It comes in two different sizes, 2U and 6U. But it looks like furniture, and it's fabric wrapped. It's beautiful. It hangs on the wall directly below the display. And one of the larger credenza is actually comes off the wall far enough that it becomes a solution for ADA compliance. AV guys have a challenge in that what they typically have been doing for the last few years is mounting the display to the wall and then dumping all the AV conferencing gear behind the display, which now makes this display stick out from the wall. Everybody can see the mess back there. The large PTZ cameras that give a great image. They want to put it down at eye line level, but that's coming off the wall more than 4 inches, which is the ADA requirement. Our credenza comes off the wall about 6 or 7 inches. So it's just perfect for mounting a really high quality PTZ camera right on top of the credenza, and still maintaining ADA compliance. The display now, because it's not loaded with gear behind it, can be right up against the wall, flush mounted. You can deploy, beautiful, like the Samsung Frame TV that's absolutely flush mounted to the wall. So ultimately, these systems stop looking like a pile of tech gear in these meeting rooms and much more like nice furniture. You can load all your gear in the credenza in your own offices, put it back in the box, and ship it to your client. So all you're doing at your client site is just hanging these boxes on the wall with a simple cleat system that we've included. And lastly, there's the larger credenza unit can be supported with legs. We have an accessory kit that supports the weight of the credenza with legs, and then also some verticals that extend up from the credenza to support the display. So now what used to be a big headache for deploying this is coordination with the facilities guys, with the electricians, with the engineers. And you might be an outsider deploying all these solutions. So we wanted to make it simple to pre-configure all of it, ship it to site, and mount it in the room with minimal wall damage, minimum interaction with all these other parties, people you've never met because you've got a plane to catch at 6 p.m. to fly back home for the weekend. These are the problems we aim to solve with credenza, and we know people are chomping at the bit for them. So really anxious to show it off and start shipping them.
Yeah, I've been in line. I put my line. It's like the day after he put the blog up, I'm like, send me one, and I've been harassing Dean ever since. So what do we got? Have people checked in about coming to InfoComm?
Yes, Jay Powell said he will see you both there. Unfortunately, Peter said he will not be able to make it to this one. So we'll hopefully get you to participate at the next show. Maybe Jay will be able to find
Peter, are you going to Cedia? Put your ad in the comment. Let me know if you're going to Cedia. I'd love to catch it. See if I'm debating whether to go to Cedia this year, and we could do the Cedia YouTube challenge in the next few months.
Excuse me.
So,
Peter also has a question about the credenza. How does it deal with component cooling?
Component cooling. There are fans. There are exhaust fans in the credenza. So there's 2 AC Infinity fans at the top, pre-installed. Pointing back, there's a gap between the credenza and the wall when you anchor it to the wall. So the fans just push the warm air out that has risen in the box out the back. And then there's 2 additional fan mounting locations at the bottom, in the bottom corners, if you want to mount a couple extra fans to pull cooler air in at the bottom. But that's an option for folks. So yeah, and then it being the fact that we're installing the AC Infinity fans, by default, you can for $20 buy the AC Infinity temperature control. So it'll just a thermostatic switch. So set the temperature at which the fans come on, and then the fans have a speed control. So it does a good job cooling air through the box. Should keep those components nice.
And he did ask a question about the mount earlier. I answered him just in the chats. Wanted to make sure I was right. The slim mount that you two introduced, it's going to be metal, or plastic is metal, correct?
Yeah, the body is metal. There's plastic tabs that hold the iPad into the back of the metal bezel, um, and those yeah, and then they fasten together, metal screws. So the we'll be offering it in black, gray, and gray white. And the gray white one is a good primer color. So if you need to paint the mount to match your wall color, you can do that as well. But yeah, it's meant to be a commercial grade iPad mount with tamper resistance in it. So it's it's a it's a
Wonderful.
nice high quality item.
Well, so Dean, I'm going to ask you this.
Mm.
And by the way, Peter says thank you. I'm going to ask you this. What are you looking forward to at InfoComm this year? And are you planning on attending any major events that we should let the audience know about? And by the way, Peter and Jay, same to you. Throw it up in the comments. Tell us what you're going to, what things you think we should see, and what's going to be cool and exciting at InfoComm this year.
Yeah, this is my third InfoComm, and it's a great show. It's always worth going to InfoComm. The people who are walking the floor, the how fast the industry innovates year after year. As far as any events I can attend, no, I'll be stuck to the booth for 3 days solid, and trying not to lose my voice. That's generally the challenge at InfoComm. Um, our booth is very close to the epicenter of probably the thing that's most interesting at InfoComm. So I hope to dart away 50 feet to go, see the Zoom booth and Logitech's booth, um, and quite a few others. Phoenix Audio, yeah, Aver. What's so great about what's going on right now in AV and cloud video conferencing is everybody play. There's great innovation. There's new companies coming out showing off new cameras with new technology that they beat all the big boys to, and they make their name in a day at this show, showing off this new camera, new microphones, new display technologies. It's finally an industry that's getting UCC, and cloud-based video conferencing has really just opened up, and it's a lot of fun. It's a really nice industry. People are happy. People are
It is.
happy
It's
to
a
be
great
implementing
industry, yeah.
solutions. It is, yeah. So I think I'm eager to again get face to face with customers. Um, I come back from InfoComm with a long list of product ideas and improvements, for revisions to products. Um, we make accessories for all the most popular cameras and microphones and out there in the industry. So that's where you typically get to see them first and say, yeah, we're going to build a bracket for mounting that to this. Um, and yeah, it's just as much energy as it takes to prepare for it and go to it and get through it. You do come out of the show with a lot of energy and enthusiasm for carrying on the rest of the year. So
That's
uh,
great.
that's what I'm looking forward to.
That's excellent. What do we
We
got?
did have Tom Willis on YouTube. We also have a Facebook comment too. We'll start off with Tom. So he said, "It seems to me that these products would be great for someone who rents a space and then when moving out don't want to have to leave a wall destroyed that has to be repaired." That's
That's
a
a
good point
very good
also.
point. Yeah, and I think Dean, you were making that point with all these products. You're optimizing for the least office space tenant, and then obviously the permanent guy benefits from it as well. But the least office space tenant, including us, I mean, we leased our space here, and there's a big clause in every lease that says you have to take all your AV and IT equipment with you when you go. And that can be an expensive proposition as you're getting more and more of this technology. But the flip side is you got to have the technology in your office, right? I mean, nowadays you can't have an office without conferencing.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the earlier topic of where tablets are great in some of the most innovative and fast moving office spaces and workspaces out there. They constantly want to reinvent themselves and innovate and be competitive, attract the best workforce. So change is a constant. And when you talk about iPad mounts, of course, the earliest iPad mounts were high-end residential things. They were, okay, a wealthy individual will probably spend any amount of money to flush mount an iPad into their walls. Doesn't matter if it's a $700 piece of aluminum and a contractor muddying, fixing the drywall, and then a painter guy coming out afterwards to paint the drywall, and then, a texture guy in between the paint guy, and money is no object. But so what happened is early innovative offices used those and deployed hundreds of them, and they paid the price. Flush mounted iPads, we've learned that, look, it's better to let the air conditioned air in the room air cool your iPad. Apple did design the back of that iPad to be air cooled. So probably not the best to sink that into the warm plenum in the wall. And then, who's installing these things? It's often consultants and outsiders. So they can't be there forever muddying the walls, cutting holes in the wall, and coordinating with the 4 different trades to make it happen. It has to be something they can work independently on, deploy quickly, and not feel like they're going to get in trouble when their client moves out of that office space and needs to pull 50 iPads off the wall. Just mud over the little holes you made with the anchors and be on your way. So we do take an approach of who is it that is buying these things? Who is it that is deploying these things? Who are they appealing and selling these solutions to? And make sure that ultimately it's a great looking product. So the CEO of the company that wants to deploy these things is going to say, yeah, that looks great, thumbs up. But also the IT guy's happy with how it's deployed. The AV guy is happy, and the AV consultant is happy with how much time it saves them and how headache-free the whole solution is. So for something as simple as just sticking an iPad to a wall, there's a lot to consider. and that's why we put over a year to, carefully tailoring all the little features in that product. So looking forward to getting it in people's hands.
Very cool. And what is our Facebook comment? I'm very excited about that, but this is our first Facebook comment. This is a big deal.
Unfortunately, unfortunately, I can't add it to the screen, but I will summarize for Steve here. So it's Steve Konacki.
Hey, Steve, welcome to the show.
So he said he's just dipping his toes into PoE, Texas. Happy to have you.
Welcome to the pool.
He said he got a single port injector and a splitter, I believe, for a PTZ optics, so 12 volts. Yep. He's been working great on his desk for the last 2 days, and it goes live tomorrow. And shout out to Erica, one of our team members here, said she's been great with her assistance. And he said he's excited to see about the flexibility that's coming and wants to know what streaming or switching software we're using.
Ooh, very good question. Thanks for asking, Steve. We use vMix. And I was introduced to this by Tom Sinclair over at Streaming Idiots and Paul from PTZ Optics. I started streaming. Obviously, I got on Streamlabs OBS. I got OBS, and both fantastic software. But one of the big downfall is the application you're actually seeing here, where I'm talking to Dean. vMix actually has a good, an integrated good guest host or guest participant software application already pre-built, integrated, guaranteed it works. So we opted to go with vMix. So shout out to the guys from vMix. They're really great guys. We met them at NAB this year. And I love you guys. And I want to say thanks to Tom and Paul for introducing to me. So we're using vMix. We're using a PTZ Optics Huddle Cam actually for our camera here. And I've got an NDI camera set up that I'm getting integrated into the system. Unfortunately, I've been so busy I haven't been able to bring it on yet. But yeah, that's what we're using, Steve. So good luck with your show. We encourage everybody to try and get out there and produce great content. Get great people like Dean. Interact with guys like Peter and Jay. They're fantastic, and being able to get this content online, present this information, I think it's hugely helpful, and I know our audience it really benefits from the information you guys are sharing, your wisdom, your knowledge. It's been great.
It has. And he said he actually did see your interview with Tom.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what sparked his interest.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for coming. Well, guys, we are coming on about 20 after the hour, and I always tell myself I'm going to make these shows shorter. Like I tell myself we're not going to go quite as long, but the content is great. The interaction and talking to you guys, Peter and Jay and Tom and Steve, you guys are great. You're a fantastic audience. I learn a lot. I really grow from these experiences. And Dean, thank you very much for coming on the show. This has been fantastic. I'm go ahead.
Thank you very much for having me. I don't get to talk about that stuff too often, so.
Well, and it is hard to get on Dean's schedule, so we were very lucky to get Dean. It's only if you pay the big fee to get into Infocom that you can actually talk to Dean himself. So thank you, Dean, very much for making time for our show today.
Thank you. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Tyler.
All right, guys. If you have questions for Dean, I will throw this up here. You can reach out to service@hecklerdesign.com. That's how you can reach Dean and his team. He's got a fantastic team. My shout out to all the team at Heckler. I'm excited. I will see you next week, and I'm excited to get to do our YouTube challenge with you.
Yeah, and it looks like Peter has some questions for you, so he'll be emailing you and your team after the show.
Yeah, I think he's got my direct email, and service is just 20 feet from me, so anybody writes, be yelling at me.
Fantastic. Well, guys, thank you very much for making the show. I'm just going to wrap it up here. Dean, thank you for coming, and we'll do a quick wrap-up and get you guys on with your day. So let me make sure we switch over here. So thanks again, everybody, for coming out. Shout out to Jay, Peter, Tom, Steve. Thanks for participating. You guys are fantastic. And for all of those of you who join later, give me a thumbs up. Give us a thumbs down. Add comments. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to see more of. We're doing our best to bring you great content, and we'll take and cut this up into director's cuts because I know we got a lot of content and information here for you. I am inviting you personally to catch up with me at Infocom if you're there next week. I'm looking very much to getting to see everybody, and let me know if you want to be in the YouTube challenge. Also, join us again on June 18th, the third Tuesday, when we're bringing on Rob Tate from The Hookup. He is one of the shows I watch all the time. I got to meet Rob at CES this year. He introduced me to all these great technologies for home automation, and I'm very excited to have Rob on the show. So come watch, learn about home automation with Rob, and we are announcing a special new product specifically for the home automation audience that I have been excited to have and has been in the background for a little while. So thank you for coming. Maria, any last comments or words of wisdom for everybody out there?
I don't know if it's wisdom, but also on the 18th, I'll have a special announcement for some, Tyler kind of teased it, but it'll be a group so we can continue to interact with you guys even when we're not on the shows. So it'll have more ideas, more expansion pictures, and just continued interaction. So I'm excited to announce that, so be sure to watch on June 18th.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye.
Making sure I get us wrapped up here right.